Hi there, this is Wafa Alobaidat. You're listening to the Women Power Podcast, a subsidiary platform to the Women Power Summit, the largest event in MENA, with the aim of empowering women and helping them achieve their absolute highest potential. Each week on the Women Power Podcast, you will hear honest, vulnerable, authentic, real conversations from inspiring women. These women will share their experiences and stories into what it takes to build a successful business and career. The podcast will share insight and inspiration and hopefully inspire action and lead change. So the intention of this episode is really taking productivity to another level. I think this idea of productivity has been challenged during COVID. There are so many Instagram posts with a lot of people saying that it's okay not to be productive during this period, and that, we have our bad days, to not be so hard on ourselves because we are now working where we are living. And there's a lot of pressure, especially for moms, to do it all, take care of their kids, school them or homeschool them, and then also do their work. It's not easy. And I think when COVID kickstarted, there was this high energy where people were excited to be at home. I mean, this is for some people. So some people were very excited to be at home. They were thrilled to have to spend more time with their family. Obviously, cutting the time of driving back and forth to work meant more time for yourself. And generally, life slowed down. You had less noise and you had more time to do deep work. And I found that a lot of people around me were either pulling their hair out because they weren't doing as much as they wanted. People who struggle with self-discipline really found this challenging, to be motivated to wake up at a certain time and sleep at a certain time and to stick to that schedule when no one was holding them accountable to do that. And I think that some people gelled really well with this new system and it worked for their personality type. They found that there was more time for them, that they could carve or they could be creative and cook and make sourdough bread or banana bread or do all the things that they've wanted to do but never had the time to do it. But I think what I want to talk about today, or what I want to tap into today, is how to take productivity to a level where you are able to do so much more in the same amount of time. And I really am passionate about productivity. It's something that resonates with my personality and is at the very core of my values, because productivity is about attitude. And I recall experiencing a business owner who relished or enjoyed communicating constantly how busy she was and that there was no time for her to do anything because she was so busy. And this was me at a very young age being exposed to this noise of there's no time of the day, I'm so busy. And I recall looking at her and saying, I don't ever want to be that person that's stressed and rushing and complaining and whiny about my life or my life's choices. And what really opened my eyes to the possibilities of productivity was Stephen Covey and the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which were taught to me at a very young age by my mother. And she got me a copy of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People for teens. And then I joined a course that she did with corporate executives, and I was able to do this really intensive course on these habits that would get you to be a much more highly effective person at work. But these were skills or life skills that I have then applied to my day, to my life's goals, to my purpose, and they really empowered me. They were tools that empowered me to achieve goals and be laser focused and be productive. The first habit, which I'll be talking about today, and that really ignited or is igniting this whole conversation, was being proactive. So I'm not going to say the exact definition or go into the textbook definition of proactive. What proactiveness is to me And the difference I see between being active is moving, but proactive is you're moving towards something. And once I understood the power of being proactive, I was mesmerized by this idea that I could move forward and go towards something. So if there was a goal that I wanted to achieve, or if there was something that I wanted to try, or if there was something I wanted to do, moving towards it, actively moving towards it, making the choice to move towards it, liberated me because it made it my choice to get it. And the idea of being proactive meant to me that anytime you had available space or available time was an opportunity to move forward. Let me explain. You don't always have to be told what to do in order to get what you want. And that's proactivity. Nobody's asking me to do this task or this favor or start this project or ask the question, but I am proactively moving or leaning in towards that goal or towards that task. So if I told you that you can carve enough time in your day to see your family, to see your friends, to run a company, or to work and build your career, to study, to have it all, would you think that's possible? And I do. And I know it sounds crazy, and I know it sounds ludicrous or it sounds far-fetched, because you have this argument of, can we have it all? Can we do it all? And I believe that you don't get to do it all the time, but that there is enough time in the day to do what you need to do. Now, once you start looking at time as an abundant thing, and once you minus the 8 hours of sleep you need in the day, that leaves you with 16 hours of productivity. And if you're telling me that in those 16 hours, let's assume you go to work for 8 of those hours. Let's also assume you have to travel to and for work pre-COVID. So that is now 10 hours. You still have 6 hours in the day to be productive, to do what you want to do other things, to see friends or family. And the minute I looked at the hours and I looked at it and I quantified it, it became so much more exciting to fit in exciting things to do, or to do things that filled my cup, or to do things that even were related to work in those 6 hours. That means I could technically get chunks of things done in that time. So my first perception of being proactive is the time in between. And this is something that I am taking from Zainab Selbi, who's an amazing author. And she coined this phrase, or she's used this phrase in an interview, which I'm going to repeat. It's using the time or the space in between things. So the in-between space. And all these spaces that exist between things you have to do are moments where you can move forward with things that you want, or connect with things that you want or need. So the idea is there is an abundance of time. It's an attitude thing. And that if you wear the hat, or if you have the mindset of, I can get so much done in the day, there are so many hours for me to do what I want to do, it becomes so much more exciting to live your day, because you are now looking at it from an abundance perspective. So when I decided to call this episode or podcast episode Taking Productivity to Another Level, I have applied different techniques that have worked for me personally that I think some people might think are a bit extreme. And I don't think that they are meant for everyone, because everybody has different personality types. And also they could be a little bit controversial and you might not agree with them, and that's okay. But if you are interested in upping your productivity game and getting more things done and leaning in or getting closer to achieving the things you've wanted to achieve, especially if they've been sitting there in your notebook, written somewhere, and it really is bugging you that you're not getting closer to getting those things done. Or sometimes having a goal that's so far-fetched and it's overwhelming and it's kind of shelved, it's a great time to pull that out and look at it again, and then use some of these techniques to get closer to those goals. So what I realized was important to me was integrating filling my cup within my day. And for the longest time, I didn't feel that that was possible due to my heavy workload. And I was compromising the things I love to do and that fed my soul or gave me energy, like listening to a podcast or reading a book or watching a YouTube show or connecting with a friend. I felt I was really compromising on the things that were social and enjoyable and gave me a bit of balance because I was working too much. So I started integrating multiple things together. And I've found that's really worked for me. Some of the things that I've done to fill my cup. And so there are certain things that I need to do every day or that I would actually love to do every day should I have the time, right? So here we're now saying that there is an abundance of time. So how do you integrate those things? For me personally, and this is not necessarily everyone's way of filling their cup, you may have your own way of doing it, but I think I'm using this as an example and really digging deep into my experience to use as an example. But things that fill my cup is meditation. That's something I just need to do to get through my day. I need to do it for 3 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I just need to get it done. I need to journal. So that's been really great for me to organize my thoughts and put on paper some questions that I may have about things that I don't know how to solve, or to dig deep into why certain things have become an issue for me or an obstacle or a challenge. So they're a great way of also creative writing, just talking about my day or talking about a story I had. It's a great outlet for me from a creative perspective. Praying is something I try to do, though I don't get to hit all the prayers, but I think if I can get some in the day, I'll be very happy. And reading has been incredible. And I love taking in a lot of information. I love inhaling content and learning. So learning about things I'm curious about is really important to me. And those things can change from week on week or day on day. But having access to things like Masterclass, Skillshare, EDX, Coursera, and having access to resources where I can learn about things I'm interested in are important. And working out is one of the core things that give me energy, get my endorphins up. And when I get to do it in the morning, it really sets up my day. It fills my day with energy. I'm happy all day. I mean, the world could be crashing and I'd still have a smile on my face because I got that morning workout done. So the sequence of events don't really matter to me. I'm not strict about the flow as long as I get them done in the day. And just being easy on myself about those rituals is also liberating, because that means that I can find these moments to tick those things off my day-to-day tasks or my mental checklist. So I've been posting on Instagram about some of the books I've been reading. I've been reading a lot of books, and it's such a luxury during COVID especially. And especially as a new mom, especially if you have help, and I'm really blessed to have that help, is to be able to read. And I've been getting a couple of questions about how I'm able to read at a time where I should be busy with my baby, and I've had help, which I don't hide. I'm very happy that I get help. I know a lot of people choose to not showcase that or share that information. I guess it makes people judge you sometimes, or you feel shame, like you're not kind of doing your mommy duties. But I do the best that I can, and I take all the help I can get, and I'm quite blessed that that's available to me. But I've been able to do those things because I couple 1 or 2 tasks together. For example, whenever I go for my walk, I always listen to a podcast, or I talk to a friend, or I watch a masterclass or YouTube video, but put it on audio. So I'm able to couple up that activity. So that's like a 2-in-1. So by the time I come home, I am done with 2 things, and they both make me feel great. They both give me energy. I've learned for an hour, but I've caught up with a friend for an hour, and I've also done my duty as a friend to be there for my girlfriends and for people who are there for me. I check in with them, and it's a great time to catch up. And I know someone as well who's, I don't want to say she's a mentor, but a mentor and a friend who does a lot of actual work by dictating emails while she walks. So that's pretty cool. I mean, that's even on a different level. But I do use those moments to catch up with friends and to learn. Another thing that I used to do pre-COVID was during my drives to work, I would definitely tune into a podcast. I follow a couple of podcasts, so I try to make sure I'm up to date with my episodes. I've also put in masterclass while I was driving, or again, I caught up with a friend. I also do take work calls while I'm driving, so I always look at my car rides as an opportunity to connect with someone from work, or if I have an informal meeting or a catch up, that's a good time for me to couple those two together. I've realized on the days that I am now working from home that what I've found really interesting, and I don't think I would have had this experience unless I was working from home, but the sequence of my rituals, even though they don't really matter when I used to go to work, I realized that what gets me to do all of them has been the flow of them. And I really applied this technique as well to my work day. For example, I always start my day by doing something I really love. So that gets me out of bed in the morning. So other than my cup of coffee, I'm actually like, I wake up and I'm like, great, I can't wait to read those 10 pages. So I try to do 10 pages a day from a book. If you're doing 10 pages a day from multiple books, you become a much faster reader, but then also you're able to finish 4 or 5 books a month. Now, it's not a race. Everybody can read on their own pace. I've actually shared this strategy with a couple of people, and it's not for everyone. I've received feedback like, that's weird. Like, I can't read multiple pages from different books. I have to focus on one book at a time. My issue with that is mood. I'm not always in the mood to read that one book. Sometimes I'm in the mood for fiction. Sometimes I'm in the mood for a biography. Sometimes I'm in the mood for a nonfiction. Sometimes I'm in the mood for something that is work related. So I go with my mood, and I love to read a couple of books. I pick 1 or 2 a day. Sometimes I do all of them. And when I say all of them, the maximum I've done is 10, but now I've taken it down to 2. Sometimes it goes up to 5. So that's 5 books, 10 pages a day. So that's 50 pages a day. And it really works for me. And I've realized that in the past, if I was reading one book and I would get bored, I would stop reading that book, and then I'd stop reading altogether, because then I'd feel guilty that I haven't finished that book, so I wouldn't read other books. So there's book guilt, right? And I'm going deep into books because it's real passion of mine. And for many of the listeners, I'm sure it is as well. But I mean, I use that as a stepping stone. So I kickstart my day by reading 10 pages. I then transition into the easier stuff. I do my affirmations. I take my multivitamins. So these are like quick wins. And then I segue into some of the harder stuff. So meditating, though sometimes I do 3 minutes a day. There were days where I was meditating for only 1 minute a day, but I was still meditating. And I think, again, this pressure of doing 10 minutes or 20 minutes a day and being so hard on ourselves just doesn't work. I try to do sometimes the bare minimum, and really I check in with myself and I see if I'm in the mood to do, like, some days I want to do 10 minutes, some days I want to do 20 minutes, and some days I want to do 1, and I go with what I feel. I use an app called Headspace. I know a lot of people use different apps like Calm, and some people just choose to meditate without any apps or any technology or any platforms. Some people use YouTube. So do what works for you, and really visit different spaces. I mean, when I started using Headspace, I started and then I left it for a while, then I came back to it until I got really hooked. And I found that I'm like this with a lot of things. I really try things, I get overwhelmed, I take a step back, I miss it, I crave it, and I go back in again. And when we just going back to the sequence of events, so then I meditate and then I journal, which takes me some time, 15 to 20 minutes. I do 3 pages on about an A5 sheet, so it's not very big. And I've taken all my journaling techniques from Julia Cameron, and her best-selling book, The Artist's Way, which really helped unleash this creative inner child in me, which I love. I have fun when I write. I enjoy it. Julia says that writing should be like having an affair. You should be squeezing it in throughout your day. It doesn't matter. There's no rules. Sneak in a couple of words here, a couple of sentences there. Just get those 3 pages done. And I live and breathe by that rule. It really has been a game changer for me. It's really helped me reconnect with myself. It's really helped me understand a lot of the things that I'm feeling. So I start the journaling, and then I go into the praying, and then I work out, etc. So when I realized that there was a specific flow to my morning ritual, and actually I would do the things I liked first, and then I'd do some of the easy things that made me feel like I've achieved, and I could just tick them off my list, and then I would go into the deeper stuff, which usually the harder stuff for me is meditating, journaling, and sometimes working out. It's not easy to get there, but then that flow helps me. Now, by the time I'm done, this could possibly all take, without working out, it could take an hour. With working out, 2 hours. But I feel like I've already won when I'm done with my morning ritual. This podcast is brought to you by the Women Power Summit. The Women Power Summit is an annual event that hosts more than 2,000 guests to listen, learn, and network with more than 100 plus speakers and industry leaders. The summit creates space for growth, learning, discussion, and collaboration, with the means of creating a space where women can support each other, ask questions, be curious, and be inspired. Now, there is a book called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. It's pretty famous, and I've been introduced to it by somebody I've interviewed already on this podcast called Neda Alawi. But I've created my own set of rituals that have worked for me, and I highly recommend that you do the same. You might not like the meditation, might want to change it to 10 minutes of yoga. But as long as you're able to kickstart your day with filling your cup, you're then able to definitely give back to others, give back to your work, give back as a mother, and just be able to give without resentment. Or I just feel like you can't give on empty. So it's important to find or carve the time or take the time to do you, and to start by setting the tone or the intention for the day. Now, similarly with work, I've realized that I never start with the deep work and actually what suits my personality. And this is after years of trial and error. But what really suits me is my mornings are great. Though a bunch of business books I read say that this isn't the right way to do it, but it works for me. I need to start with my correspondence. So I usually take an hour to do my correspondence, get back to my emails, approve things, check things, get back to people, and then write my to-do list and the things that I want to achieve for the day. One of the biggest mistakes I've done in the past, which have really affected my productivity, was overwhelm myself with chunks of things to do, or like deep work that requires a longer period of time to develop. I've tried to squish that in one day, and what I say to myself is just push yourself and you can get this done. But actually, when I do push myself to get things done and sometimes I have to, so this is for the rare occasions where I have the choice to be smarter about how to spread my work and manage my time. I spread them out and I realistically put in the hours I need to finish every task. And this is usually for the deep work. And when I say deep work, it's about the work that's a bit more intense, that requires thinking, strategy. It requires quiet time. It requires me to sometimes work from home, work from a cafe, work out of the office, so I can actually focus and not get bogged down by day-to-day things. I've learned to switch off my phone as well during those times. It's so rare for me to get into the zone and to do deep work, and it's really special and important and sacred to me that I need that time. Like, it takes so hard to get there that when I do get there, I want to not be distracted, and that means not being accessible or available. And it's for somebody who really likes to please people and to be there for my clients and to make sure that I'm on great terms with everyone. it's really hard for me to be able to switch off to do that. But I recognize how important it is to my wellness and to me feeling good about myself, about achieving some things that require more effort, mind space, and time for me. So from noon to afternoon is when I start to plan out, and I won't say do the deep work, but like get into the zone. And I start to kind of open documents, do some research. I'm fiddling around and I'm setting the stage or the tone, or I'm getting some of the grunt work done that needs to be completed before I do my deep work. And then just because it's COVID and I work from home and I'm also really dependent on my infant's schedule, after I put him to bed at 7:30, between 7:30 and 8:30, I have some dinner and my deep work starts 9 till about midnight. That's when I'm able to really dig deep dive into the work that matters. So when I say work that matters, it's not emails, it's not superficial correspondence, it's not touching base with somebody, it's the actual content I need to develop to move the needle and to move things forward and to plan and to create these visions or mock-ups or presentations of things I need to present either to my clients or to my team or to myself. So this is where the mapping happens. And that doesn't work for everyone. Some people have to be in bed by 9, 10. Some people are completely ineffective during that time. And some people's days start earlier. So my day starts a bit later, about 8:39. So I do have a bit of luxury in that space. We don't get to start work anyways until 9 a.m. So some people who work in government positions or work with the private sector that have to be in the office early, this might not necessarily work for you. But I think what I'm trying to say is find the flow that works for you. Find the things that when you put them together as a sequence, get you to move forward. And I think once you figure out the sequence or the flow of your day, it's so magical what you can get done, because there's a natural state of flowing. And I'm sure there are days where you want to do something and you're not bothered. I think you need to ask yourself, why am I not interested? Why don't I want to do this? Why am I not bothered? And sometimes plugging it in at a different time of the day or attaching it to something that you enjoy doing beforehand can give you the energy you need to complete it or to start it or to do it. So first of all, the morning ritual has changed my life. I have now filled my cup every morning. I'm able to give back to my work and to create. So we talked about this again in the episode with Haya Khalifa, which was the abundance episode. But Haya actually was the person who really helped me understand inhaling and exhaling. And sometimes if I'm taking in too much information, I'm inhaling too much and I get really flustered and frustrated and I had no idea. And she said, maybe you should be exhaling. Maybe you should be creating or doing something, or there should be an output to kind of balance it out. And once I understood the balance, I was then able to understand that in the morning, I am filling my cup, I'm inhaling, I'm taking things in. And then when I start working, I'm exhaling. And the balance of the two really make me balanced and whole and motivated and very excited. Very excited about my day, and even the most mundane things have become exciting when I've put them in the right sequence. I mean, I'm quite flexible. There are days where I don't feel like journaling, so I skip it. But I realized the importance of consistency. So I do come back the next day and I do it. And if I'm still not in the mood, I don't push myself too hard, but the consistency is what matters. And I'm not really a fan of routine, but creating some sort of flow. And once you find that natural state of flow, it's really powerful to maintain it and not shock your body out of different habits or different things. once you have it, it's gold. It's really hard to get there. So hold on to it, cherish it. It's important. It's precious. And a lot of people are trying to get there. And if you're listening to this episode, your intent or your intention is to figure out how to create that flow, fill your cup, and really become productive. And productive for the intention of leading a purposeful life filled with achievement. Who doesn't like to achieve things? Who doesn't like to get things done? Who doesn't like to put a goal and say, I'm going to get this done, and they actually do get it done, and they're a complete go-getter, and they do it for themselves, not for anybody else. So it's a really powerful thing when you understand that you have the power to finish something, especially when you set out to achieve it, or you've said that you wanted to do it, or you've thought you wanted to do it. Once you understand that you both have the choice and the discipline, life becomes so fun, because then you're actually living, you're actually doing, rather than talking about it or thinking about it. So it's quite a powerful space to be in once you get there. Are you interested in developing your own podcast or your own show? We want to help you make that happen. We can assist you with branding, conceptualizing the concept and theme, writing your intro and shooting it, editing your podcast episodes, developing a podcast schedule and theme, and creating social media content for your listeners and followers. We want you to have your own platform and space to express your point of view. Contact us on obainhill.com or DM us on Instagram, and we'll be here to support you. So why this obsession with productivity, right? So why are we trying to do so much in the day? Or why are we trying to fit this abundance of learning? Why are we obsessed? Or why is this a strategy you should apply? In our current market situation, where technology is growing and speeding up our lives, but also innovation and disruptive technology is changing how we do things, how we buy, how we sleep, how we exercise, how we make decisions, what we get to see every day. So things are moving really fast, and we need to catch up. Or not even catch up. I don't think we can ever catch up, but like we need to be on top of our game. And why is that important? I think that today, if you want to be irreplaceable in the workplace, if you want to be innovative as a business owner, if you want to be ahead of the curve, then you need to learn as much as possible to be able to be part of the conversation. And the fastest way to accelerate your value, and value is something that is becoming so much bigger than I thought it was. In my 20s, I didn't even comprehend what value meant. What does that even mean, value? How can I be more valuable? And I understood when I started my organization 10 years ago that my clients want to learn from me. They want me to tell them what to do. They want advice from me. They want knowledge on different fronts, on different platforms, about different things. There's no formula. They want to talk to me about operations, HR, pricing, communications, marketing, recruitment. And I have to be supportive. And I can't do that if I limit my learning. So today, if you walk into a networking event and you have this range of knowledge, then you can add value in conversation, in the workplace, to your boss. You become valuable when you are knowledgeable, period. The fastest way to do that is to learn. As a CEO or as a founder of an organization, I'm not looking for people to say, I want to come to your company to learn. That's the last thing I need. I need people to come to show me a different perspective, to teach me something new, to support me, to support the company. Now, how can you do that if you are looking to me all the time for guidance and knowledge and learning? So the invaluable people are the ones that call me to share ideas with me, that offer different perspectives on how to fix things or try something new. Those people are incredibly valuable because they're much harder to find. And at a time where there are so many fresh graduates and so many people looking for jobs, You are always looking for the person that can add value, even in the very interview that you go to. If you are able to communicate value, so how can I help you grow your company? This is what I'm reading. These are the blogs I'm reading. These are the websites I'm subscribed to. These are the podcasts I'm listening to. Just giving the person insight into your mind gives the business owner an idea of how you can be helpful. So why are we trying to learn? Why are we trying to learn every step of the way? Because we want to be promoted. We want to get to the top. We want to be rewarded for our time. And we want to be valuable. And we don't want to be out of fashion. We don't want to not know what the technology is about. We don't want to understand what the market is about. I'll give you a perfect example. So after we've launched this podcast, we decided to offer a service that helps other people launch their own podcasts. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't spend enough time doing my research. So the first thing that I say to podcasters when I meet them is, did you know that 97% of podcasts don't make any money? 1.4% make money from subscriptions, 1.4% make money from ads. I can show you as a consultant how you can become part of that 3%. I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't spend hours and hours and hours listening to interviews, going on websites, following links, clicking on links that people recommend me to listen to. And I deep dive into subjects that maybe not necessarily is something I'm interested in at the time, but I keep an open mind. So you become valuable when you know more. You know more when you can fit more in the day. I've met 20-year-olds who can provide more value than 30-year-olds. If you are hoping to add value through experience only, that's a slow road to the top, my friend. Slow road. That means you are depending on other people and time to equate value. So to me, being proactive and moving forward in the space of knowledge, in the space of consuming content, in the space of learning as much as possible, you are then able to dictate things on your own terms. There are CEOs today of financial institutions who are 35 years old. There are ambassadors now in their 30s. There are people now that are professors in their 20s and 30s. How do you do that if you don't put learning and ensure that you are quickening or accelerating or speeding up your pace to where you want to go, or speeding up your pace to learn and to become valuable, to act as a consultant, to act as an advisor to others? If you listen to the mentorship podcast offers an amazing way to learn and accelerate learning through talking to mentors, but also being productive and using the space in between things and using the waiting space can help you be so valuable to organizations that they wouldn't want to let you go. And not only that, but I think for a person, you would have such high confidence. And if you listen to the Dina Ansari episode of Standing Tall, Dina says that the reason that I show up confident is because I'm overprepared. I'm overprepared because if I get given a task or a project or a board role, I'm there studying that organization. I'm studying that product. I'm studying a whole industry because I can't be good unless I'm jam-packed full of knowledge, and the learning doesn't stop. It's a lifestyle. And that's why someone like Dina is usually the youngest woman in all these incredible organizations, either as a board member, as a business owner. So how do you get there? How do you get there fast? You learn, you become productive, you use the spaces to learn, no excuses, right? So we don't want to be like there's no time and work-life balance, and that's fair. You can have work-life balance and still learn. You can have work-life balance and still be globally competitive. That's also so important. Do you want to be competitive in the market that you're in today? Or if I pick you up and put you in New York or put you in China or put you wherever, could you also hold your ground? Or are people your age leaping forward and you're growing at a snail's pace? And competency is very important. And having a global competitive edge is so important. because I always think sometimes of the worst case scenario, and you don't want to be left behind. You don't want to be great in the country that you're in, but be absolutely useless or terrible somewhere else. You want to be able to move in your industry in whatever location, to whatever location, and still be of value. And now with this abundance of content that we have, there's really no excuse. Find the time. Find the time. That's it for this week. Thank you for listening to an episode of the Woman Power Podcast. And thank you for downloading and streaming our podcast every week. If you love what you've heard, tag us on Instagram and follow the Woman Power Podcast and Woman Power Summit account for more information on our next episode. Please leave a rating review wherever you get your podcast. It really helps other women discover the show. That's it from me. See you next week.